hello, and welcome to Real Talk with Kingsley Obadira. And please, if you haven't already done so, hit that like button, subscribe, so we can keep bringing you good sports content. And if you haven't already done so, please hit that like button, subscribe, so we can keep bringing you good sports content. Now, today, if you don't already know, I played for the Nigerian national team, and it's something that I find incredibly as an honor and a privilege to have done so. And it's not something that I take lightly at no moment. So, for the last 8 years, I've watched Nigerian basketball suffer. And even before then, it's been suffering. And normally what happens is the president, when their term is up, they have a 2-term limit in the Constitution. When their term is up, the president usually tries to usurp power to have a 3rd term or make an indefinite situation where they are now the president of Nigerian Basketball Federation indefinitely. And it's not right. But more troubling is that quite often, because there's people where there's their interest in terms of whether beneficial to financial gains or through appointments to be coaches, appointments to be administrators, whatever benefits that they seek, they usually sacrifice the will of the people and the benefit of the youth. An example of this is for the last 8 years, there's no basketball league in Nigeria. No basketball league. So the youth are left to scavenge around, to find pickup games or, camps, tournaments, whatever they can to try to stay fit. In the meanwhile, the administrators will pat themselves on the back and praise themselves. Job well done. Job well done. I actually saw an insane article. I'm not sure who the gentleman that wrote it, if he's crazy, if he's sane, if he's normal. I don't know anything about the man. But I can tell you that whoever wrote that article, either he is ill-informed or he has bad intentions for Nigerian basketball. Okay. So with no hesitation, I employ all Nigerian stakeholders, not people that claim that they love Nigerian basketball. They have ulterior motives, that's trying to gain appointments, that's trying to gain coaching directors or trying to become something else. If you love Nigerian basketball, there has to be when you say enough is enough. Enough is enough. The kids are suffering. The youths are suffering. How can you have a situation where there's no programs put for these kids and you call it a success? So, with all due respect, I have some things that I want to address. And I don't want to veer off topic because this is far too important. So this is why Musa Kida must step down as NBBF leader. There is no 3rd term. You must step down. Engineer Musa Kida's 2nd term as the leader of Nigerian Basketball Federation will come to an end. And according to NBBF Constitution, he is no longer eligible to continue. While the article that I mentioned highlights reasons for his tenure extension, a closer analysis of his leadership reveals critical failures that demand new leadership to restore Nigerian basketball to credibility and progress. Below are 5 key reasons why Musa Kida must step down. Number 1, tenure, expiration, and constitutional adherence. That's very, very clear. This is a very important one. Tenure, expiration, and constitutional adherence. Musa Kida's term is constitutionally over, and any attempt to extend his leadership is a blatant disregard for the NBBF's foundational governance principles. The rule of law and adherence to the Federation's Constitution must be upheld to ensure accountability and fairness. Allowing him to overstay sets a dangerous precedent of undermining established regulations and fostering impunity. The NBBF deserves fresh leadership that respects its constitution and democratic processes. Number 2, the decline in domestic basketball development. This is another huge one. Under Musa Kida's leadership, Nigerian basketball has suffered a near total collapse of the domestic league. For over 6 years, the country has lacked a functional and competitive league system, leaving players, coaches, and clubs without opportunity to grow. Promised reforms and structures remain unfulfilled, and grassroots basketball, once a cornerstone of Nigeria's dominance, has been left to deteriorate. His leadership has been synonymous with stagnation, not progress. Number 3, international embarrassments and sanctions. Kida's tenure has been marked with embarrassing international incidents that have tarnished Nigerians' reputations. Remember, there was a withdrawal of Nigeria's team from international competitions. His administration presided over the country's self-imposed ban from FIBA tournaments in 2022, depriving Nigerian athletes of critical exposure. Why? Money problems. Remember, there was a video that circulated around with the girls talking about money's owed.
We have defended our championship and brought back the cup in 2019 and 2021, which is historical, but still no invitation has been extended to the team to visit Aso Rock or a presidential handshake. Why?
President of NBBF, Musa Kida, said that the Federation isn't owing any players, officials, or vendors. This is far from the truth. The last time we checked, our allowances, stipends, bonuses, training grants, and donations made by banks for players, officials, and volunteers still have not been paid.
We are owed $73,118 from the NBBF, $24,000 from the Ministry for the Tokyo Grant, and $100,000 from donations from 3 banks in Nigeria.
Ever since our general manager and team manager resigned, we feel like we're being marginalized. Our senior leadership, like the former president, never really shows up for camps or competitions to boost our morale. And when we have significant concerns and issues that needs to be addressed, when he does show up, we get vague answers, as if our concerns aren't important to him. But when we win, they magically show up for photo ops and celebrations to use for political gain. Musa Kida was not in Cameroon, but somehow he showed up to Abuja to take pictures and to hoist a trophy, again, for political gain.
The Tokyo 2020 Olympics was full of a bunch of distractions for all of us. We didn't know the final roster until the day before the flight. So our first team practice was in Tokyo days before the first game.
There's a lot of things that could have been handled differently to increase our chances of success. Starting with our travel, there was a 36-hour flight, our team gear and uniforms, making sure they're up standard, 2 practices a day, not being able to access medical staff at certain points during the Olympics, as well as gift exchange between teams.
Why hasn't the team been to Nigeria since 2019? We're wondering the same thing. As the Tigers players, we want to go back to Nigeria. We don't understand why we have not been to the country for the last 2 years for camp or for any celebration. It's customary that the team is to go home for major competitions so that we can have morale.
Now he showed up to Abuja to take pictures and to hoist a trophy, again, for political gain.
The Tokyo 2020 Olympics was full of a bunch of distractions.
And as punishment, this vindictive man, they removed Nigeria from international competition due to that video because they were embarrassed of unpaid bonuses that they should have paid.
To pull a self-imposed ban. FIBA sanctions under his watch. Administrative disputes led to sanctions that undermined the sport's integrity and placed Nigeria on the brink of international irrelevance. The lack of accountability and failure to manage internal crisis has cost Nigeria dearly on the global stage. This is what is facts. Not fiction, facts. Number 4, allegations of corruption and mismanagement. There have been consistent allegations of financial mismanagement and lack of transparency under Musa Kida's administration. The funds allocated for national team programs, sponsorships, and development projects have often shrouded in secrecy. Reports from players, coaches, and officials suggest non-payment of dues and poor logistical support during international competitions. I know this firsthand. I've heard this from players. I've heard this from coaches. Mike Brown, former head coach of the Sacramento Kings, informed me personally. He raised over $1 million, in which he handed over to NBBF, their president, Musa Kida. Well, he handed over to NBBF, and I asked him, what happened to the funds? Musa Kida kept the funds because Nigeria owed him, or NBBF owed him. Mind you, there's no sponsor for Nigerian teams because Alpha, his apparel company, is the sponsor. But yet, Nigeria owes him. He's gaining exposure by the national team wearing Alpha. What is the benefit of the national team wearing Alpha? When Nike, Reebok, Under Armour, all these apparel companies can sponsor the national team. Yet there's no sponsorship. Everything is shrouded in secrecy. And when you dare speak up, you are relegated to being a troublemaker. If you are a player, you are banned from the team. And worse, as a team, they stood together. They were now banned as a team. Sounds like a dictatorship. The sponsorship deal with Total Energies has failed to deliver tangible benefits for domestic basketball league, raising questions about effective utilization of resources. A leader who cannot be trusted with finances should not be entrusted with the future of Nigerian basketball. Where is the funds? Where's the sponsor? Why should you continue if you cannot produce a functioning, competitive domestic league? Why should you continue? If Nigeria cannot qualify for international tournaments where we have to watch South Sudan become the toast of Africa, why should you continue? Why? The people around you, the people writing these articles are misinformed. At very best, they have ill will towards the growth of Nigerian basketball. Anyone with common sense can see the stagnation of basketball in Nigeria. That brings me to number 5. Erosion of unity in Nigerian basketball. Rather than fostering unity, Musa Kida's tenure has deepened divisions within the basketball community. The federation has been plagued by factorism, electoral disputes, and power struggles, which have alienated key stakeholders, including former players and coaches. His inability to unite the basketball family has left the sport fractured and demoralized. New leadership is required to rebuild trust, to restore harmony, and to provide a fresh vision for collective success. We cannot let someone who's doing a bad job change the Constitution to continue. If he was doing a great job, a fantastic job, where Nigerian basketball is not elevated from where he found it, I would say, yes, wow, maybe we should consider it. But not somebody that has had no basketball league. You've been plagued with corruption. There's constant revolt. You've sidelined key stakeholders. Granted, Nigerian basketball needs an overhaul. I honestly believe watching South Sudan's success, watching the tremendous love and passion. I remember when we used to sacrifice, we'd die for each other on the court. We have NBA players for the Olympics. Every other team has a direct flight. Why would you fly them all over the world? They don't need to go on a world tour to get to their destination before the game. I've had calls from NBA players. They said, I just want to wear the jersey for Nigeria. I just want to represent my country, my beloved country. I don't need NBBF's help. Please, we just want to show up. We'll pay our own way. We don't want to fly from here to here to here to here to here when there's a direct flight. Please. But because of the greed, the selfishness of our leaders, they would never allow that. Not that I would encourage anyone to do that. We should be responsible enough to put a real camp, real accommodations, direct flights for our athletes. How dare you complain, they would say. How dare you? You are benefiting from representing Nigeria. So therefore I must suffer. How dare you complain about sleeping on conveyor belts? How dare you complain about being stranded at the airport for 20 hours, 48 hours? How dare you complain? You're playing for Nigeria. Endure the suffering. Well, I must tell you, the people, I call for the people of Nigeria, change your ways. You, the people, must rise up and say, bad leadership is enough. NBBF leadership, we will not tolerate anymore. Until you do that, I'm just a voice. Yes, they'll attack me. I don't care. They will attack me, yes. Because they want to keep doing what they are doing. I call for fresh leadership. Nigerian basketball is at a crossroad. Continuing with Musa Kida after his tenure has expired is a recipe for decline. The sport needs a leader who respects NBBF constitution and democratic principles, who prioritizes the revival of domestic leagues and grassroots basketball development, who will restore Nigeria's international credibility and competitive edge, who ensures transparency and accountability in financial management, who unites stakeholders and rebuilds trust within the basketball community. Musa Kida's leadership has failed to deliver on these fronts. It is time for him to step aside and allow new leadership to revitalize Nigerian basketball. The future of the sport and hopes of the players, coaches, and fans depend on it. This is Real Talk with Kingsley Obadiri. It's up to the people. It's up to you as individuals and stakeholders to not allow this shenanigans. Say enough is enough. Nigeria cannot grow when we have people usurping power, especially when they've done a terrible job. This is Real Talk with Kingsley Obadiri. Hit that like button, subscribe.